Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. That's great. I think we have a full house today, so let's get started. Would you all mind putting your name on the, I think most of you have your name, some have short. So you can see who it is. Yeah, if you can go on Zoom, you can go to and rename yourself. All right. So let me start by sharing my screen. In the meantime, can you do me a favor? I'm going to send the presentation after the webinar is over. In the chat, you can select the private where the two, from the drop down, you can select Mathus Academy. And can you give your email address and your child's grade and name? And you'll email the presentation after the webinar is over.
Yeah. Well, apparently this is harassment. You're standing in front of my face. That's the real harassment right there.
Can everybody unmute, please? I think most of you are, but just double check if you're not on mute, so that we don't distract anyone. All right, do you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we have three hosts today. There are 49 participants so far. So as I present, if you have any questions, feel free to type the question into the chat box. So when you give your information related to your email, etc., enter it in the private chat. But if you have a question, enter it to everyone so that everybody can see the question. If not, it's okay. I'll read the question before answering it. But you can answer any ask questions anytime. You don't need to wait until the end. All right, welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone, depending on the part of the country that you are in. So today's presentation, I think looks like many of you are new, relatively new to Mathus Academy. I'll just very briefly talk about what Mathus Academy is, what do we do, and then the first part of the presentation, somebody's still not on mute. Can you, I can go and check, but it will take me a minute, but can everybody check and make sure you're on mute? And if you have a question, you can unmute yourself or just type till somebody talking and they don't realize, I guess. Yeah. Let me go and try to mute. Are you muted? All right, I think everybody's on mute now. Perfect, okay. And then first part of the presentation, I will talk about the SAT, ACT, and PSAT tests. What is the structure of the tests? How do they look like? What is their importance? Where are they used? What purposes they're used? Who uses them, etc. And in the second part of the presentation, I'll talk about the classes that we offer, our methodology, courses, schedules, fees, etc. Somebody just joined and they're not muted again. All right. Okay. For those of you who just joined, I requested everyone to go to the chat and enter your email address and your child's grade and name into the chat box. So we're going to email the presentation to all those who attended after the session, but also the grade will help me kind of customize the presentation to make sure that the information that will be good for different grades are covered. The reason is SAT and ACT, PSAT, they have different purposes. And depending on which grade you are in, it could be for college admission, it could be for Duke tape, etc. So I'll address those. All right, with that, let me get started. So what is Mathus Academy? For those of you who are new, we are based in Atlanta, an education academy. We were founded in 2011 with the mission to help bring best out of every child. So everybody has different potential, and we believe that every child has infinite potential. And our goal is to help tap into that and help bring the best out of every child. We do a lot of activities. Today, obviously, I'm primarily going to talk about SAT, ACT, PSAT, etc. But we also do a lot of other activities. We do offer classes in a number of different subject areas from first, second grade all the way to high school in math, English, science, coding, spelling, public speaking, debate, etc. Apart from SAT, ACT, and PSAT. But we also conduct tests, online tests in again math, spelling, etc. And we also work with many non-profit organizations like local schools or North South Foundation to make a difference to the children. But today I'll stay focused on just test prep for SAT, ACT, PSAT. As I said in the first half, it is just purely about the test themselves or how are they used. So feel free to ask any questions. I'll get to the classes information only in the second half. Okay, so what are SAT and PSAT? So these are the tests that are conducted by an organization called College Board. By the way, it is the same organization that also conducts APR, Advanced Placement Test for high school students. And most of you, if you have a high school student, you probably are familiar with AP exams. So these are college level courses that are offered to high school students so that they can get college credits. In this country, so look like more of you are from India, like similar to me. When we went to school in India, if you have a 4-year degree, you got to spend at least 4 years or more, probably, but not less, to complete the degree. But in the United States, it has nothing to do with the number of years or number of semesters. It all depends on how many credits you, or when do you complete the required number of credits. And by taking AP exams, students can complete both high school requirements and some of the college requirements at the same time. And that not only saves time, because you can finish in 3.5 years, 3 years, or even 2.5 years, depending on when you are done, but you also, so you're finishing your college early, but you also spend less money because, every year is equal to about $50,000 to $70,000 of a fee. So if you finish early, finish the college early by taking some of the college level courses during high school, you meet both criteria and you don't, and when you take it in high school, you don't spend any extra money on that except cost of the test, which is like $50 or $60 versus $50,000. So, but to do that, you need to stay advanced from elementary and middle school. But I digress a little bit, but it is the same organization that conducts SAT and PSAT as well. But I think that's a relevant information for those of you who have got high school kids are going to have going to high school in near future. If you have any question, feel free to type into the chat box. Just because we have over, I think we have 64 participants, audio questions probably will be a little distracting and will take too much time. So if you have any questions, please type it into the chat box. I will answer every question. If required, we'll go a little bit over. Plan to finish by 6:15 EST, but it may, even if it goes to 6:30, I will answer all questions. So please type that into the chat box. So what do this test SAT and PSAT comprise of? As most of you probably know, they comprise of math and English. And within English, there's a reading part and there's a writing part. They're actually called evidence-based reading, and writing is really called writing and language. And there is also an optional essay. So the essay is different from the writing. The writing part of SAT is not actually, you don't actually write like as an essay or something. They're all multiple choice questions. They test the knowledge of your writing skills or grammar skills. But in essay, you actually have to write an essay. You actually have to analyze a given topic and then write the essay. And it's optional. What does it mean to be optional? So colleges, so when your student takes SAT or ACT, by the way, this presentation is primarily meant for parents. If any of your kids, please invite your parents as well. You're welcome to stay, but you might get bored at some point. Your parents probably would want this information more. So the essay, when the colleges take SAT or ACT, I'll talk about ACT as well in a little bit. It's up to them on how they interpret the scores. So many colleges only look at SAT reading, math and English part. They do not look at essay, but some do. And it's not necessarily by just college. Some colleges may only look at it for certain majors, but not the other majors, right? But the challenge is you're going to apply, your student is going to apply for college admission in the fall of 12th grade, senior year. Now, you would have to finish SAT or ACT before that. So when you are taking SAT in whatever, 11th, 10th, 9th, or some even 8th or 7th grades, for your tape purpose, you may not know which all colleges you are finally going to apply, right? So generally speaking, it is better to write essay as well, because what if one of the colleges that you want to apply does require essay? And the whole college admission process is a whole subject by itself. I'll probably do another webinar on that some other day. In fact, we are doing a panel discussion on college prep and college admission process in July. We're going to bring a number of undergrads who successfully navigated the process, went to prestigious universities. We'll bring them on a web panel discussion, and along with a experienced past admission officer, and we'll talk about that. But there's a whole different science. But the point is that you do not know exactly which colleges you're going to apply. And typically students apply 6 to 8 colleges. So it's better to write the essay. Any question on the topic so far? Okay, so this part probably everybody is familiar. So the 1600 score is very popularly, is in popular imagination, right? It used to be 2400 until March 2016. So now math has a maximum 800. So that is between 200 to 800. Minimum score in math is 200 to 800. Minimum score in English that is reading, writing combined is 200 to 800. The combined score is between 400 to 1600. Earlier, until 2016, reading and writing had their own 800. So that's how it was 2400. So in the old days, some of your friends' kids went to college, they might have talked about 2400. But now that is 1600 because math 800 and reading, writing together is 800. The essay is graded separately. It's not part of the 1600. So it's on a score of 24 on 3 different parameters, 8 and 8, 3 different parameters, but it's scored separately. So you have 1600 on math and English and on 24 of essays separately. By the way, essay is the only part which is manually graded by a human being. So math and reading, writing are primarily multiple choice questions. In math, there are a few non-multiple choice questions, what SAT calls grid-in questions. They are like if you fill the blank or a short response question, but you actually don't fill a blank, they actually give bubbles. So they give 4 columns. If the answer is, let's say, 287, you bubble 2, 8, and 7 in the hundreds, tens, and ones place. You can also have fractions or decimals, and those are also allowed within the grid. But irrespective, they're all graded by a machine. A human being never looks at any of your child's SAT math, reading, or writing papers. They're all manually machine graded. But the essays are manually graded. Obviously, artificial intelligence has not yet reached the stage where it can reliably grade. First they have to understand the writing itself. Everybody has a different writing style. So they're actually graded by 2 different English teachers, anonymous English teachers from different parts of the country, and then their scores are added. That's how the SS score is evaluated. Everything else is just scanned and graded by a machine. So how does the SAT test looks like? So first SAT itself, I'll get to PSAT and ACT in a little bit. So SAT has 5 sections, including essay. If you don't take essay, 4 sections. And it's always in this order. First, the reading. There are 52 questions and 65 minutes. So a little bit more than a minute per question. So about 75 seconds per question. Writing and language has 44 questions, but only 35 minutes. Math has 2 parts, no calculator and one with calculator. The one without calculator has 20 questions and 25 minutes. And the one with calculator is 38 questions and 55 minutes. So it's still about a little bit more than a minute per question. So about 75 seconds per question, except writing and language, which is actually a little bit less than questions. And you might wonder why that's the case. Why reading, for example, has more than a minute per question and writing and language has less than a minute per question. The reason is writing questions are much more straightforward. They mainly test grammar knowledge. So it's like a sentence correction or a paragraph correction, etc. And students usually, you can often answer it by, if you have a good sense of grammar, just by reading aloud to yourself, not reading aloud outside, but reading aloud inside. And they'll be able to actually answer probably half their writing and language questions just based on how well they know English. Right? Rest probably requires a little bit more analysis and going through their knowledge. But in case of reading, it's much more complex process. You actually read a passage or sometimes 2 passages in comparison with each other by the same author or different authors, and they can come from different disciplines. They can come from science, they can come from literature, they can come from history, from various fields, sociology, and the student has to read that. And it's not just like a simple reading comprehension. they really have to comprehend what the author is arguing for or against, or as how the paragraph to paragraph passages are flowing through, and then go to the questions. And some questions could be main idea questions, some could be, hey, what is the author thinking over here, or if there are two passages, comparing between the two passages. And some questions, they read the question and then it gives a line number in the passage. They have to go back and reread that part and answer that question. So it takes a little bit of time. That's the reason why reading has a more time. And it's also likely that the students will run out of time more often in reading than in writing. Same is in math also. So the first few questions are usually pretty easy. Sometimes you wonder, wow, is this really a SAT? But as the questions progress, they get harder and harder. The last few questions probably require definitely more than a minute. They might require 2 minutes or more. So on average, probably about 75 seconds per question. So that's how the core reading, writing, and math is organized. And then essay is a separate. So to apply for SAT, you do not go through the school. You have to go to College Board website and register directly. College Board SAT. I'll probably, when I toward the end, I'll show how that looks like. You can register and pay the fee, and it's offered multiple times a year through the academic year from August through following summer. Well, this was spring and summer, unfortunately, many tests got cancelled due to current pandemic, but they expect to start again from August. And it is offered multiple times throughout the year, and your child can register and take it at any time. And at that time, you can select whether you would want to opt for essay or not. Generally speaking, for high school students, it is better to take the essay just because you don't know which colleges you apply until the fall of the senior year. In total, it's almost a 4 hours test, 3 hours and 50 minutes, including essay, or 3 hours excluding essay, not including breaks. So they do give breaks between sections, which means that the actual test could be anywhere from 4.5 to 5 hours. And it's always on a Saturday morning. And some of the test day tips: make sure they sleep well the previous night. Maybe make sure they sleep well following previous 2 nights, right? They should prepare most of it in advance. They might revise during the day, but let them have a good sleep. This is a test of endurance as well, not just a test of knowledge or intelligence. It's also a test of endurance. So you want them to be rested before going, and they can carry some snacks, water, juice, or whatever, and they can eat or drink during the breaks. Those are equally important because you can prepare, but if they're preparing until 2 a.m. the previous night and go tired, they'll probably fall asleep halfway through the test. So this is a long test, and they can take test multiple times. I'll talk about multiple times, how many times they can take, or what is the recommendations, etc. I will talk about a little bit later on that. But let them do all the prep in advance. But on the test day, on a Saturday morning, they should go refreshed and ready for a long test. Any questions so far?
Is it typing or writing, the writing test? Are they writing it down or is it typing?
Everything is a written test. As of now, all SAT, ACT, both are completely manually written tests. So there's no typing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Keep moving. So what are PSAT and PSAT 89? Of all the things related to the test prep, probably this is the most confusing one, and are the most misunderstood one. We got a lot of queries related to can do you offer PSAT? When can my child take PSAT, etc. So let me spend a couple of minutes over here. And what are these PSATs? When they can be taken? What is their significance? Hiram, do you have a question for me? No. Okay. All right. If there's no question, please stay on mute. If there is a question, preferably enter it in the chat, just so that we don't talk over each other. But you're fine to unmute. When I give a pause, I will give pause between the slides. At that time, please, you can unmute and ask a question. So there are two PSAT tests. One, just called the one on the yellow on the left side. It's sometimes just called PSAT, sometimes called PSAT 1011, although College Board doesn't call that, but colloquially it's called PSAT 1011. It is also called Nmsqt, and I'll tell why that's the case. So this particular test in the yellow, the PSAT 1011 or Nmsqt, is almost same as SAT in terms of the structure. It follows the same structure, same level of difficulty, same syllabus, same curriculum, same level of difficulty, except that it is a little bit shorter. It is out of 1520. It is on 760 on math and 760 in English, instead of 800 each, and there is no essay. And this test, you cannot directly go to College Board and apply. There will College Board website and apply. This can only be taken at high school, your child's high school. It is offered almost by every single high school in this country in the 10th and 11th grades. Some high schools also offer in the 9th grade, but most high schools offer 10th, 11th, some in the 9th grade, and they will let you know when that's aware, and it's always in October. It's always in the October of the academic year, and the test is almost same. And many students who want to prepare rising 11th, 10th, or 9th grade students who are going to take it in October, prepare that during the summer, and the preparation for this is same as SAT. So when your student wants to take want to prepare for PSAT 1011 or PSAT, it's just called PSAT or Nmsqt, they actually take SAT preparation. There is no separate preparation for PSAT 1011 because it's the curriculum, the level of difficulty, test type, everything is same. PSAT 89 on the other hand is somewhat different. So PSAT 89 is originally developed for practice, as a practice test for PSA for 8th and 9th graders. And that's what it's called, PSAT 89. And this is a relatively younger one. It started only recently, a few years back. That's why it's probably not as well known, nor is it offered by all schools. So it is up to the school on which ones, whether they offer PSAT 89. So some high schools for the 9th graders offer regular PSAT or Nmsqt itself. Some high schools for the 9th graders offer PSAT 89. Some high schools may not offer for 9th graders at all. They might only offer PSAT for 10, 11. Similarly, some middle schools offer PSAT 89 for 8th graders. Some don't offer. These tests, unfortunately, you cannot directly apply and take. You have to take through the school. There is one exception for PSAT 89. I'll talk about that a little bit later. It is for talent identification programs. But for actual college prep and preparation for SAT, it can only be taken through the high school, or in case of PSAT 89, middle schools as well. So what is Nmsqt? So going back to the yellow side for a second, the PSAT 1011 or PSAT is also called Nmsqt because in the 11th grade, this applies only for the 11th grade or the junior high school. When they take PSAT in the 11th grade October, it has additional significance for scholarship purpose called National Merit Scholarship. And that only the PSAT or Nmsqt taken in the 11th grade count for that. For practice, it might be offered by 10th and 9th graders as well, but the scholarship purpose counts only the PSAT score of 11th grade. I will pause there for a second if there are any questions on anything related to PSAT, Nmsqt, the scholarships, etc.
One question. So if we want to take it privately, is there any private institution accepting this test, PSAT 8/9?
So the tests can only be offered through College Board. You cannot directly take through the private organizations. You can prepare through the private organizations through coaching, like we offer the coaching as well as several others. But to take that, I guess you're talking about the exception I talked about. Maybe I'll address it right now. So there is, I'll talk more in detail later. There's certain talent identification programs such as Duke Tip, and they have the kids, 5th, 6th graders, actually technically 4th, 5th, and 6th graders take PSAT 8/9 as an above grade test to identify talented kids who can who can attend certain summer programs in the following summer, or they get award ceremonies, etc. For 7th and 8th graders, Duke Tip have them take SAT itself, whereas 4th to 6th graders take PSAT 8/9. But again, you have to register through Duke Tip. So that is the only exception. You go to Duke Tip website and you register for Duke Tip itself first. So if you have a 4th to 6th grader, it will give you an option to register for PSAT 8/9, and they'll give the test dates and test locations, and you can register for go on take it. Or similarly, if you have a 7th or 8th grader, you can go to Duke Tip website, you can register for it, you can select a test, upcoming test through Duke Tip website, and Duke Tip and the College Board are integrated in the back end, and you can register for that. That is the only exception.
When exactly the test will be for the 7th and 8th graders, or for any grader, 4 to 8 graders? For
Duke Tip, you have to complete it before January of the academic year. It can be taken, so they do offer multiple times. So when you go to Duke Tip website, they will give the options. You have to register through the Duke Tip website. When you go there, they give the optional dates. It has to be completed by January of the academic year to be eligible for the following summer programs, or for the award ceremonies. Typically, award ceremonies are in March, April period, and the summer programs in the following summer. It has to be completed by January, but there will be multiple options.
I have a sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So I have a quick question. So when you talked about the PSAT 10/11, you said, like, the level of difficulty will be the the same as SAT. So how about the other one? Like, could you tell us the difference?
Sure. Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. Good question. As you can see, PSAT 8/9 is even shorter than PSAT 10/11, 720 in math and 720 in reading rating, total 1440. But it also has a qualitative difference. Because it is meant for younger students, some of the harder concepts are actually not included. For example, in math, it will not have trigonometry, it will not have complex numbers, or some of the algebra 2 concepts will not be there. In reading, similarly, the passages will be a little bit easier than PSAT or SAT. So PSAT 8/9 is significantly easier than SAT or PSAT 8/10.
Okay, thank you. And we have courses for prepping for that PSAT 8/9 too.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
So we actually offer only 2 related to SAT. We offer 1 SAT, both for SAT prep as well as PSAT 10/11, and again another for PSAT 8/9.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Deepa, do you have a question? You are unmuted. All right, maybe they're just why in advance. So there's some questions in the chat. Some are public, some are private. So let me answer each one. There's a question: what is the score required for getting scholarship? So there is no prescribed score required for scholarships. In the PSAT 1011, the 11th grade, what is are called so-called Nmsqt, there will, I think the top 16,000 students across the country in the test will be selected for what they call semi-finalists. And among the 16,000, those who meet some additional criteria also go to finalists, but almost 15,000 of the 16,000 become finalists. So if you make semi-finalist, you almost made it. So the score can vary. So they don't give a score cutoff, they just give you whether you're a semi-finalist, and that makes you eligible for scholarships. Now, there are some additional scholarships outside of the Nmsqt, which are offered by private organizations. They might also peg it. So I'll mute Preeti and Deepa. Might have a question, but I'll mute for now because I'm still talking. After that, you can unmute yourself again. So, so there's some in this country. Scholarships are very interesting, and you can do spend a whole time on scholarships. I'll probably do another webinar some other day. And so there's one type of scholarships. A large percentage of scholarships are what they call need-based scholarships, and that is purely income-based. And once you cross an income, you are not eligible. It's nothing to do with your PSAT score or any other scores. But there are a lot of scholarships, thousands of scholarships, in fact, which runs into billions of dollars of scholarships, which are merit-based scholarships. And some of them are based on Nmsqt, including some of the private scholarships. So there is, you want to get as good as possible, but there is no prescribed cutoff, because their different scholarship might have a different level of cutoff, and they just select the number. They don't necessarily give a grade. Couple of other questions in the chat. What are the requirements or criteria for, so I think the same question. Prachi has a question, what is the website? Please spell it. So there are two websites I talked about. One is just for applying for SAT, it's College Board. Just Google for College Board or College Board SAT, because College Board does multiple things. Google for College Board SAT. If you're asking about Duke Tip, Google for Duke Tip with your kid's name. So if you have a Duke Tip 7th grader, type Duke Tip 7th grade, as I did in the chat. Or if you have a 6th grader, Duke Tip 6th grade. So that will, the very first link will get you to what you need. And probably later on, I'll switch to the browser and I'll show those as well. And what other question? Could you please share the sites? Yeah, I think I just did that. Do you have to apply for scholarship? Great question. Yes. So when your student is in the 12th grade, high school senior, one of the things that you'll spend a lot of time is in applying scholarships. And the number of scholarships you are likely to get is directly proportional to the number of scholarships you apply. So you may not get everything that you apply, but the more you apply, there are a lot of different scholarships. And but yes, you do have to apply. But by the time you will know. So Prachi, you have another question? Oh, website. I think I typed it. Okay, it's about the website. All right. Yeah, Johns Hopkins. So there is another program called Johns Hopkins CTY. So I'll probably write here. So the two popular talent identification programs for middle school students. One is Duke Tape, the other is Johns Hopkins CTY. So I'll write it here. I'll type it here. UTIP. I think I have a slide on it later, but we jumped ahead. That's okay. TIP stands for Talent Identification Program. And the second one is Johns Hopkins CTY. CTY stands for Center for Talent Youth. Both are basically to identify advanced or accelerated or gifted kids. And the way they identify that is using SAT and PSAT 8-9. Okay. Did somebody want to ask a question? Unmute. A couple of you have unmuted yourself. Do you have a question?
What is the criteria for the merit scholarship?
So it varies. So for a lot of them, it is based on the PSAT 10-11 score in the 11th grade. Some private organizations might give their own criteria. They might ask you to write an essay. They might ask you to write about a particular thing, about an essay, or what you're passionate about. But for a large number of them, PSAT 10-11 in the 11th grade is a criteria. The score that you get, but they don't really tell you a cutoff score or anything. You want to maximize your score, and the top 16,000 will be selected as semi-finalists.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Nina has a question. If school does not offer PSAT 8-9, where can we take exam? So the only other way you can take PSAT 8-9 if the school does not offer is talent identification programs such as UTIP, but that is only for 4th to 6th graders. They're not for 7th, 8th graders. For 7th, 8th graders, UTIP and Johns Hopkins CTY have them take actual SAT itself. But you can advocate to your school, right? We can all be, I think we should all be advocates. So be active at the schools. If they already don't have, talk to the counselor, or if you're part of the PTA or PTO, you can represent to the school, and no, I think you could advocate if the schools don't offer. Increasingly, more and more schools are offering, and it doesn't cost a lot. I think school has to pay certain fee to the college board to register, but it's not a lot. So it's more of the energy that is taken to offer it rather than anything else. So somebody has to take the initiative. Ishwar has a question. Could you please recommend good books for SAT? Well, the number one book for SAT is Official SAT Guide by College Board. That is actually offered by College Board themselves. And there are a lot of other books. There's Kaplan, there is Princeton. I don't particularly like one versus the other. We have a lot of material. For our classes, we have a lot of material that we use ourselves, but we don't sell that. But College Board Official SAT Guide is the standard one. I do not know how many prepare for UTIP 6th grade. A lot, I know, but it's not every. So another thing, take it in perspective. It's not the talent identification programs are not necessarily for everyone, right? Don't stress up if your child is not ready for it. It's okay. Every child is different, and they might be gifted in a different way. So you don't need to stress up if they're not able to take it. But if they are ready, if they're advanced already, if they're doing well, they can prep and then go take it. But I don't know how many. But I do see, when I go to the centers, I see a lot of kids. But maybe, I don't know, maybe 5-10% of all the 5th, 6th graders might take it. I'm sure it is much higher among the Asian and Indian community as a percentage. But overall, probably not that high, huge percentage. Okay, clear this. Okay. All right. Moving on.
I have a question here.
Sure.
Thanks. So you were saying like, there are like thousands of merit scholarship programs available out there. So is it like college specific, or and where do we get more information on that? That's the first question. And the second thing is like, when is the right time to really look for it? Like during the 12th grade where we start focusing on college admission, that's when we have to check out for all the options, or should we start looking for information earlier than that?
Okay. Yeah. So, well, you can look out any time. You really can apply only during the senior year, but I think it's not too early to start researching about it.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, what was your first question, Kathy?
The first question is like, where to find information? Like, is there a website or any place where we can know more about it? You said like thousands of options, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And if it is like all college specific, like some scholarships are available, like it. Yeah, that's the other question I had. Like it's a kind of sub question. Yeah.
Sure. So some of them are college specific. For those, they will have see, a lot of colleges have a few merit scholarships. They don't have. There are very few college both scholarship, but their criteria typically is very, very stringent, right? They might have a couple of them who are eligible, like who are the top few students who are applying. And you will know when you are applying. If you go to college website, they will tell what scholarship they have. They're very few and they're very stringent. Outside of the college specific ones, there are many general ones. Well, some are actually state specific. In Georgia, for example, there are two scholarships called Hope Scholarship and Zell Miller Scholarship. So Zell Miller, if you get I think 4.0 or more grades throughout your high school, you get Zell Miller. If it is less than that, I think there is a cutoff. I don't remember exactly, 3.3 or 3.4, 3.5. Between that and 4, you get Hope Scholarship. So the amount of scholarship varies. So that is within one state. Similarly, each state for their public, that usually applies only for public universities, what they call in-state public universities. So you get those state scholarships. So some are college specific, some are state specific, some are very general. Like Koch has a scholarship open for everyone. There is not a single source of truth. You can just Google and find a lot of information, but there are books on it. You can go to Amazon and you will find a book. There are like 500-page books on that. I'll probably do a webinar sometime later this summer on it. Just keep an eye.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, I think there are a couple of more questions on the chat, but I'll come back to that. Let's progress a little bit because some of the questions may be answered as we progress, and then I'll come back to the questions again. So the PSAT, how does it look like compared to SAT? As you can see, the structure is similar. The PSAT 1011 or Nmsqt, the same 4 questions. I combined math into one, but actually they're reading, writing and language, math without calculator and math with calculator. Those are the sections. So slightly fewer questions, as you can see, 47 in reading questions, 60 minutes. Writing is actually same, 44 questions and 35 minutes is still the same. Math, instead of combined 58 questions, there are only 48 questions and 70 minutes. So a total of 2 hours 45 minutes. Actually 15 minutes lesser if you take away the essay part, right? Because without essay, SAT was 3 hours, it is 2 hours 45 minutes. So a few questions in reading and math are taken away and 15 minutes less. Otherwise, it's pretty much similar. The PSAT 8-9 is even shorter, 2 hours 25 minutes. But also, as I said, it's easier than the other one because it's meant for younger kids. Again, actual time will be a little bit more because there'll be breaks. ACT is similar to SAT in certain aspects. What are the differences? Why are there 2 tests? Why are there SAT and ACT? So thing in this country, right? It's not like none of these tests are conducted by government or universities or anything. These are independent organizations. College Board is an independent non-profit organization. ACT is another independent non-profit organization. SOT is much older. It's almost 100-year-old. This is pretty popular until 60s or 70s. That was the only test, 1960s or 70s. And then ACT was started by actually University of Iowa in the 60s, and it became very popular in the Midwest. Whereas on the most universities in the East and West Coast were accepting SAT, while most universities in the Midwest were accepting ACT. But today, all colleges accept both, so there is no difference in terms of college acceptance. But the ACT, Megan, do you have a question? You unmuted yourself a couple of times. Okay. Okay. So ACT scoring is slightly different. First of all, if you look at the subjects that are offered, so it has science as an additional subject, math, science, reading, and English. And the English is essentially the equivalent of the writing and language in SAT. The science is an additional one, but even the science doesn't really test the knowledge of science. It tests the scientific interpretation. They typically give, they're more like reading, but scientific reading. They give passages or graphs or charts and or tables. You have to interpret and answer questions. So the scoring in each of these 4 sections, excluding essay, which is again optional and similar to SAT, in math, science, reading, and English, each of them are scored on 36 instead of 800. But interestingly, the max score is also 36 because they take an average of the 4 scores. They do not do the sum of the 4. But then they round it. So if you got, let's say, 35 in math, 32 in science, say 31 in reading, 34 in English, and the average is, let's say, 33.6. They round it up to 34. But if you get 33.3, round it down to 33. So it's always a round number. So that's how ACT is scored, but colleges have a scale between the SAT and ACT, so they both take equally well. How does ACT look like? So these are the sections, and always come in this order. It's a different order compared to SAT, but always the same order. English, 75 questions and 45 minutes. Math, 60 questions and 60 minutes. Reading, 40 questions and 35 minutes. Science also 40 and 35. And essay is 40 minutes. Total 3 hours and 35 minutes, slightly shorter than SAT. One striking difference you might notice, if you remember SAT, number of questions and time, is that the time per question is actually less in ACT. Right? For example, English, 45 minutes and 75 seconds. But look at reading and science, which is equal to reading in SAT. It's actually a little bit less than a minute. And math is exactly 1 per minute, average 1 per minute. And that goes to, so a common question is, what is the difference between SAT and ACT in terms of the test? One is ACT has science. 2, ACT also is a little bit more time constrained compared to SAT. It has less time per minute compared to SAT. So those students who probably good at time, maybe they're better at ACT because they get a more competitive advantage. Because all the scores, by the way, SAT and ACT scores, those 36 and 800 are relative score. They're not absolute scores. The absolute score is basically out of 215, right? But the actual score is 36. So they take, you all probably are familiar with the bell graph, right? So what they do, what College Board and ACT do is they essentially take all the students that attend a particular test and put them on a bell curve like this. And the median is, for SAT, it's considered about 500. let's talk about SAT. And 800 are those who are close to 800 math are those who got 858 or 57, right? Close to the perfect score in terms of the raw score. And the lowest is 200. And so these are relative scores. So if your student is very good at time, right, very quick in time, maybe SAT is better. But if your student struggle with time, maybe SAT is better. So let me go to one more slide and then I'll come back and answer all the questions from the chat. Because I think some of the questions may be answered by this set of slides. Who uses SAT, ACT, and PSAT? So first, who uses SAT and ACT? As I said, the primary purpose of SAT and ACT is college admission purpose. And the only thing that counts is the SAT or ACT taken during high school. Any tests that are taken before 9th grade do not count. So all the tests that you take for Duke Tape or Johns Hopkins CTY, they do not count. Colleges don't even get those scores. It's only 9th, but anytime you take in the 9th to 12th, they do count. And if you, so that leads to one, I can answer one question. What is a good time to take SAT? Well, any time in high school, if it is for college admission process, any time in high school between 9th to 12th is fine. Obviously, you have to finish before fall of 12th grade. Ideally, by end of 11th grade, you want, or the summer of 11th grade, you want to finish. But a lot of students take in 10th or 9th grades. And many students take in 7th or 8th grade for the purpose of Duke Tape or Johns Hopkins CTY. So that is the primary purpose, college admission. The second purpose is some advanced courses by certain universities require the score. So what do I mean by that? So this typically happens more so in math than in others, but it can apply to any subject. As I mentioned toward the beginning, there are the students who are advanced or accelerated in high school can take AP exams, advanced placement exams. So in math, for example, it's AP calculus, AP statistics, etc. But some students are far too advanced. They take accelerated, double accelerated. They finish all the courses, math courses that are offered by the high school by, let's say, 10th grade or 10th or 11th grade, right? Because they continue to accelerate it. In the 8th grade, they finished some of the high school subjects. In 9th or 10th grade, they finished the rest of the high school subjects, including AP courses. What next? So many universities offer additional college level courses, typically for local high schools. And this typically varies from, again, state to state, because some of them are actually can be taken remotely. Some they have to be present. Sometime for some of them, they have to just go one couple of times. So typically each state has its own set of universities which offer. For example, Georgia, where I live, Georgia Tech offers multivariable calculus and linear algebra for any high school students who finished AP calculus and meet certain qualifying criteria in SAT or ACT. So that is why some 9th or 10th graders take SAT, because if they want to take additional courses from universities, they do need to finish SAT or ACT sooner. Then we talked about Duke Tip and Johns Hopkins CTY. For them, the 7th or 8th graders write the SAT or ACT. So then who uses PSAT or Nmsqt? Again, we talked, as I said, its primary purpose is practice for high school students, that is 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And these are only offered at high school. PSAT and Nmsqt cannot apply directly. There is no exception. You can only you have to take at the high school that is offered. And 11th grade, as I said, as an additional significance for national merit scholarships. PSAT 8-9 primary purpose is practice for 8th and 9th graders. Again, this has to be offered at the school. If it is not offered, you can advocate to the school and request them to offer. And it's also offered by talent identification program for 4th, 6th graders. And now certain private and magnet schools might also consider, for admission into high school, they consider PSAT 8-9. And typically in those areas, the schools do offer the PSAT 8-9 in the 8th or 7th grades. And so prepare for a PSAT, take it in, again, typically in the October month at the middle school. And these are always local. So the private or magnet schools are basically chartered schools with specific focus, like a STEM schools, or focus on a certain area. And if there is a good schools, right now there's a lot of competition, and each of them might have a different criteria. Some of them are based on PSAT 8-9. So those are the different purposes. So at this point, I'll pause for any questions. But also, I think there's some questions in the chat I haven't answered yet. I'll go there. But if any of you have any questions, you can ask as well.
I have one question. Like the SAT subject test, are there any ACT subject tests? So for example, if I want to take a science test for physics, would there be a similar test for ACT?
No, the subject tests are actually, first let me answer subject test, because not everybody, typically I get a question about subject test itself. Let me answer that and then I'll answer your question. So the subject tests they're called SAT subject tests. Certain universities, for the admissions for certain majors, in addition to SAT or ACT courses, scores and your high school grades and all other criteria, for certain majors, they want you to get certain qualifying criteria in SAT math or SAT biology or SAT subject test math, SAT subject test biology or physics or US history. So the host of them offered by, again, they're also given by SAT. And to your question, no, it's only through SAT, but typically if you do well at the school, you should be good with those. But if you're talking about prep, we don't offer that as a group class, but if anybody requires one-on-one, we offer any subject as a one-on-one. But to your specific question, it's only SAT subject tests. Now let me go back and look at some of the questions in the chat. I answered most of them, but okay. How can my 6th grader prepare for Duke tip test? So the PSAT 8-9 actually, unfortunately, doesn't have any standard books, unlike SAT or PSAT, which is the same as SAT. My child goes to Gate Magnet School in school. Does it play any role in college admission? So to answer your question, for PSAT 8-9, you might find in Amazon, but I didn't really find any reliable books, unlike the SAT College Board book. I guess they can take SAT and kind of exclude some of the more harder ones and prepare with the less advanced ones. We do offer a PSAT 8-9 course. To your second question, my child goes to Gate Magnet program in school. Does it play any? Typically, no. Not just the school itself. Is that a middle school or high school, Ishwar?
It's a middle school.
It's a middle school. No, middle school doesn't play any role at all in the college admission. Now,
she will follow the same path for high school also, I believe.
Yeah, if she follows the same path for high school, just because of the school, there is not necessarily a, there used to be in the past, there used to be what are called feeder schools. And they were very popular in the Northeast, for example, Massachusetts, New Hampshire had a lot of prep schools. and some of the prestigious, even Ivy Leagues, had like federal schools. If you go to that school, you have very high chance of going to Harvard or Yale. But those have literally stopped. There could be still, because college admission process here is a somewhat subjective, right? It's not like in India where if you want to go for a particular college, you take a particular entrance test, and that's all it matters. Here there are 7 or 8 different parameters, including SAT or ACT score, the high school grades, teacher recommendations, and a lot of them are based on your demographics. And because all colleges want diversity, so the cutoffs based on different demographics is actually are different. So, well, a lot of colleges actually it's harder for Asian Americans and Indian Americans just because they don't want half the class just from one community, right? So you often compete with within the community, but that comes with all our emphasis on education. But schools generally don't automatically guarantee or anything, but certain schools, I see that certain schools a lot more students go just because it's more competitive, right? But there is no direct correlation.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Sai has a question. Could you please advise good books for AP World History? Sai, I don't really know. If you go to Amazon, you'll probably find Barron's, Christian, Kaplan. Those are the popular names. There is no official one for the AP subjects, but I guess any of those should be fine. Maybe just look at the reviews. AK, could you please repeat the names of those scholarships? I talked about Nmsqt. You're talking about, well, what I mentioned was an example. In Georgia, there is called Hope and Zellmiller that applies only in Georgia. And you will easily find within your state. I don't know which state you are from, AK. AK, if you are from Georgia, that does apply for public universities. But every state not every state, many states have their own scholarships, state-specific scholarships for public universities. And you will easily find those. Within the state, you will find those. You just Google and you will find. But other ones, right, there are a lot of other scholarships. You have to do more research. Oh, I think already somebody else answered that question. What is the best time to go for SAT coaching? So as I mentioned Sai earlier, it depends on the student. If you take a majority of the students in the US, probably 11th grade. But a lot of kids take in 10th grade. Increasingly 10th is probably more now. And many 9th graders also take. And that leads to another question. How many times you can take an SAT? So technically you can take any number of times. But my recommendation is probably 2 to 3 times. 2 is very common unless in the very first time you get a perfect score or whatever, not necessarily perfect, right? The score that you're looking for, you got very first time, then you don't need to take ever again, even if it is 9th grade. But otherwise, 2 times, even if you get a good score, probably a second time is worth it, right? You might get a better score. 3 is okay. Beyond that, I wouldn't recommend. It's just my personal recommendation. If you, I think you lose kind of seriousness if you take too many times. Colleges say that number of attempts don't matter for admission purpose, but colleges get the highest score. So, and there's also something called super score. I'll explain in a second. But they also get the number of attempts. So they say they usually don't consider it as a factor, but you never know. But apart from that, I think more than 3 times means that you lose seriousness. But 2 to 3 times is fine. And so what is the best time? Maybe, depending on the student, you take our 9th or 10th grade, their last attempt should be in the 11th grade, really. Because you don't want to keep it for 12th grade. So what is super score? I don't know. I know I'm still behind on the chat. I don't know if there's a question, but I'll go and answer that. So colleges typically take the highest score, but some colleges take what is known as super score. So what is a super score? Let me give an example. So let's say your student took first SAT, first attempt, and in math and English, right, got whatever, let's say 7, 10 in math, and 6, 30 in English. And then took a second time, and let's say you got actually a 690, a big jump in English, but for some reason, he or she got only 700, slight drop in, let's say, math. So the highest score will be obviously the second one, right? That is a 1390 versus 1340. But a super score takes the highest of the two, take the best of the two. 710 in math here and 690 here, which is 1400 super score, right? By the way, I just took an example. It doesn't mean they're good or bad scores. I just took an example. So, but it's up to the college. Certain colleges take that, certain colleges don't take it. So what are the other questions?
I have a question. So in the example I've just showed, right? So if the first attempt, like, I'm happy with my reading and writing, I just want to boost my math score. So is it possible to just take math and, go for a second attempt just in math?
No, you have to write the whole test. You may not focus on it from a preparation perspective, but you do have to take the entire one. You don't need to take essay, but essay is the only optional part. You cannot opt math or English.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's see a few other questions. When can we take ACT? Same as SAT, anytime during the high school, or for Duke Tape for 7th or 8th grade. Kathy actually asked another question earlier. Will PSAT 8, 9, and 10, 11 scores be visible to colleges? No, they don't care about PSAT scores at all. Only SAT or ACT.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can 9th graders take SAT after preparing for PSAT 8, 9? Just to see where I stand if school does not offer. Yeah, 9th graders can certainly take SAT, but if you're planning to take SAT, right, I would rather say you prepare for SAT itself. Don't prepare for PSAT 8, 9 if you want to take SAT as a prep, because you may not know certain concepts, but certain concepts are not actually that hard. So in our classes, if you are attending SAT or ACT, we cover everything. We actually teach them as well. So if those concepts are not covered at school, you may not get 100% of it, but you'll get some of it, right? So if you want to take SAT, if your school does not offer PSAT and you want to take SAT in 9th grade, I would rather say you prepare for SAT. Or you can prepare for PSAT, but then obviously those additional concepts won't be covered. So I guess it depends on your comfort level, but to answer your question, yes, you can definitely do that. What are the other questions? How many times can I do PSAT? 10, 11. Some of these questions are private, so all of you may not see it. You can take it during the high school that is offered. So it depends on how many times or which years your school offers, right? The school offers only for 10th or 11th grade, so twice. The school offers PSAT 10, 11 for during 9th grade also, then 3 times during 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. So it depends on how many times school offers, because you cannot directly apply for it. So Meenakshi has a private question. Recently, UCs and a few other universities have dropped SAT scores until 2022. Will this be replaced by any other test scores? Great question. So I was to get to that question. So this is, although UC, University of California system, and a few other colleges announced it now, this is an ongoing battle. especially by University of California system. It is there for a while. The proposal was there for a while. And COVID-19, I think, kind of was the last straw. Now, here are the challenges with this. I think this is a more of a political and monetary battle than anything else. So in University of California is the largest university system in this country. There, I think there are about 200,000 students across those the 8 or 9 campuses. That's a lot of students. And College Board charges what, $60 or $70 per test. So University of California actually wanted to replace it with their own test. I think for next couple of years it's saying they don't take, but after that they want to replace with their own test. They want to design their own test. So you're talking about $10-15 million, and that's pretty decent money. So they want to conduct their own test, and why pass it to College Board? But there could be other reasons. It is unlikely that the smaller universities be able to do that because it is impractical for them to conduct their own tests. It's a humongous battery that you have to create all that, right, and run it. So it doesn't make sense for smaller universities. But some of the bigger university systems like Penn State is a pretty large system. Some of the large state universities may do it. But it is interesting, we have to wait and watch. The challenge with this approach from a student viewpoint, actually it only complicates things. Because even if you live in California, right, you may not apply just for California universities. You may want to apply for other universities. So now you have to end up taking 2 tests. One SAT or ACT for other colleges and one for UC system. Same for those who are outside California and who want to apply for UCs. You want to take SAT or ACT for outside, and then you have to take one more for UC. So I think we need to wait and watch. It's more of a battle of the giants, and we're all just pawns in that. Another question that came in private, could you please talk briefly about the significance of extracurricular activities when it comes to college admission? Kathy, I would love to do that. It is 6:18 Eastern time. I think I'll probably do I'll do a separate webinar for college admission purpose, because this is going to take a while, and some people might have other meetings. So, but otherwise, you call me some other time. I think we'll do another webinar on this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
There are many people who are interested in it, but we don't have time for it now. So. So I think, Meenakshi, for the same question, in case of University of California, what else matters? In case of only GPA matters? No, they have other criteria also, right? They look at GPA definitely becomes more important until they start doing their own tests. The ultimate goal of University of California system is to use their own tests, not completely getting away with. I think they're doing it only for next 1 or 2 years because they need time for ramp up. At that time, they look at all other criteria. But it just becomes muddy. I think it becomes more subjective. What is an Nmsqt? I talked about that is a National Merit Scholarship. Nitish, how many times you can take ACT? I think we already talked about. Yeah, it's same as SAT, 2 or 3 times. Ishwar, some universities, yeah, I think we already talked about. Yeah, sorry, I just kept catching up with the chat questions. I think I already answered. What is the difference between SAT subject tests and AP tests? Shashi, they're quite different. The AP tests are actually, you get credit during the college. So it is a full course. The AP, if you're taking AP calculus, typically those are not offered at high school. These are college level courses offered for high school students. And those tests, typically the high schools offer them as a course, right? You actually take, your student actually takes the whole year course at the high school, then they write the high school test, but they also write this college board test, which always happens in May of the academic year, and it is on a scale of score is on scale of 1 to 10. Sorry, 1 to 5. A 4 or 5 means very good, 3 means a pass, and etc. Right? So the AP tests are completely different because AP is not just a test; it is a whole course. Whereas the SAT subject tests are just a test you need to take. You don't need to go through the whole course. You already go through the math course or physics course, biology course at the school. It is just an additional test you have to take for certain colleges for admission purpose. So the subject tests are for the purpose of admission, whereas the AP tests are for the purpose of college credits. So Prasad, there's a question. The UC thing, that does it apply to Caltech? I have not specifically looked at Caltech. No, UC system is not part of. Sorry, Caltech, Stanford are not part of, and other private universities in California are not part of that. Even University of Southern California, those are not part of a UC system. But I have not checked whether they also declared. I think we need to check independently, but they're not part of UC. So by default, the UC rules do not apply to Caltech. As of now, do all Ivy Leagues accept super score ACT? Again, each school is different. So I don't think all of them offer accept super score, but we need to go and check. And typically in their admission website, they mention, but not all of them do. AK, will not taking subject ACT test affect the student's ability to get accepted into college that they desire? Possible, right? Every college mentions for each major what are the SAT subject tests that are required, and you can easily find them. They're typically maybe 1, 2, or 3 of them. So, but yes, if you want for a specific college for a particular major, you do need to take the SAT subject test. All right, so let me go through a few more and then we'll come back for any additional questions. Okay, so far we talked about SAT, ACT test. So at this point, I'll switch over and talk about the classes that Mathus Academy offers. So we offer a number of online tests. I'll talk more about SAT, ACT, and PSAT in the later slides. But so these are all the courses. We offer math courses, critical thinking math. We offer also something known as bridge math. It is not listed here. It is basically school math for those who want to get a head start for the next year math. You do bridge math during the summer and during the academic year. All of these are offered both during the summer as well as separately during the academic year. And we offer something called math code during the academic year, which is school math, but we also offer math genius, which is critical thinking. We offer language genius ELA, which includes reading and writing, public speaking and debate, spelling bee prep, science. In science, we have multiple courses, advanced science for elementary, middle school students, biology for 7th, 8th, 9th grade students who are advanced and who want to pursue biology careers, brain bee, which is a neuroscience based course, SAT, ACT I already talked about, and we'll talk more about it later. The coding class in Python, and all these courses are available as group courses, but we also offer anything, and even those which are not listed here as one-on-one courses. So if you want a more private coaching in any subject, including SAT, ACT, or PSAT, or any other subject like AP biology or APA, some high school course or any course, middle or elementary, we do also offer them as one-on-one if you prefer it that way. That will be more like tutoring. We will actually customize the course for the student. Whereas group classes typically follow a particular course curriculum. Any questions? A couple of you unmuted. Any questions?
How many students are there in a group typically?
Yeah, so for SAT, ACT, or PSAT, maximum 5 to 6 students, sometimes lesser depending on how many are there per. And we have one couple of batches starting this coming week. We may have one or two that may start the following week. And as the SAT test date come in future, we might offer more. But for the summer, we have a couple of them that are starting next week. And for SAT, ACT, and PSAT, we keep maximum of 5 to 6. For others, it could be 5 to 8 for math and other courses. Any other questions?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you for a while. Could you please,
Yeah, we
repeat
lost.
like what you just said?
I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'll repeat it. I think someone
Thank
asked.
you.
Someone asked how many students will be there in a class. So I said for SAT, ACT, and PSAT, it's 5 to 6 students. Sometimes maybe a little less depending on how many register for that particular course. For other ones, 5 to 8 students. For SAT, ACT, and PSAT, 5 to 6 students. Sometimes it may be lesser, but not more than that. And our general philosophy is keep the class size small so that we can cater. Although those are group classes, we still pay individual attention to the students. These are all live interactive classes. We use Zoom for all the classes, and in that, with video, audio, whiteboard. I didn't use whiteboard here because we have 60 to 70 folks, but in the classes, whiteboard, where the student, the teacher and the students interactively work. Right, I think there are a couple of other questions. Let me finish next 2 slides. I think some of those questions will be again answered in my slides. So I'll answer every single question before we close today. So the coaching methodology for SAT, ACT, and PSAT. We cover all the subject areas and concepts required for that particular test. So in case of SAT, math, reading, writing, and essay. In case of ACT, math, reading, English, science, and essay. And we teach the concepts, we teach the core topics, but we also teach the test strategies on how to optimize their time, when to you solve a problem versus want to actually eliminate, a number of other test strategies, tips, tricks. So we cover both concepts as well as test strategies, but also a lot of practice. So during the class itself, we actually practice and make sure they understand not just the theory, but also able to answer questions. But we also give homework. Sometimes we give a full test, full SAT or ACT test or PSAT test to take outside of the class. Sometimes we just give certain sections. Sometimes we have our own material, we give those, but every class will have a homework. That's our methodology. Who are the coaches for this SAT, ACT, and PSAT, or even for other subjects, but especially for the test prep? I personally find that the best coaches over the years, we have been doing it for 9 years, and I figured the best coaches for the test prep are those who got perfect score themselves, those who went to school here, high school here, got perfect score themselves in the past, got admission into prestigious universities, and they have also have teaching experience. So it's not enough to get a perfect score, right? Getting a good score is different from ability to teach others. So those who have got the teaching experience, and we go through a lot of filtering mechanism. Within that, so typically they are doing undergrads at prestigious universities. We probably take top 0.5 to 1% of them. We go through a lot of filtering mechanisms. and interviews and tests before they ever actually teach the students. We also not only look for their, so we look for 3 or 4 criteria. One, obviously their own scores to show that they know the subject. And 2, motivation level, right? Are they passionate about what they're doing? And then their communication skills. And most importantly, their ability to connect with the students. I think that's probably the most important. And I find that actually students, high school students and middle school students typically connect much better with those who are doing undergrad and those who speak their language, right? Not just their language, English. We all speak English, but it's a different English. And I'm not even just talking about accent. It's just, high school, the Gen Z has a whole different language. So they connect well with them and take them along. So those are our typical coaches. Let me go back and look at a few more questions, then we'll proceed again. Where am I? This is a private question. Does high schooler has to do volunteer hours for scholarships? No, the volunteer hours go into different things. There are, I think, certain scholarships as well as certain, not necessarily scholarship, just awards based on the volunteer hours. But that is also, if you're applying for certain majors, like for example, if you want to go in pre-med, those who have done volunteering related to hospitals, etc., could be useful. Sandeep has a question. Does SAT subject test give you that much edge? Is it worth time investment? For computer science major, what subject tests are recommended? Well, so the SAT subject tests do not give any edge. They are just requirements for certain colleges, for certain majors. So generally, if you're talking, so I think it is best to look at the specific university that you want to apply and their majors. So I think the answer will vary depending on the student where they want to apply, but it does not give an, it's not a matter of edge. It's a matter of a requirement depending on where you are applying. How many students in a group? We already talked about. What is the fee for one-on-one classes? So fee, so let me address the fee for both group and one-on-one classes. I think I have a slide, it's there on the website as well. And some of you might have already seen the website. For group classes, the fee is for SAT, ACT, and PSAT, it works out to $22.50 per hour. That is the most competitive we ever done, but also it's for the type size of the class size of 5 to 6 students. Typically, from name brand institutions, the fee will be $40 per hour range. So we deliberately kept it very competitive. Also, and it's discounted for the current summer due to the current pandemic. For one-on-one classes, the fee will be between $50 to $60 per hour, depending on the hours committed. If you, we can go down probably a little bit, 48, 47, depending on the number of hours you take. Another question, my son is a junior now, got a good score in ACT and was going to take SAT in March but got cancelled. Now he has no interest to take SAT. He likes to apply to Ivy colleges. Do you think he should take SAT in fall? Due to COVID-19, all plans are got messing up. Yeah, I understand. So he doesn't need to take SAT just because he wants Ivy Leagues. Both SAT and ACT are equally accepted. It all depends on, and even the score, right? It is, colleges look at multiple criteria for college admission purpose. So sometimes a lower score in SAT or ACT can be overcompensated by other factors. Other factors like high school grades, extracurricular or leadership activities, or even essay, personal essay is very, very important. Sometimes what you can't differentiate through other things can do through a great essay. But again, it has to be personal. You have to write about something about yourself, which is not easy. And those skills don't come overnight either. So that is one other thing I observed. When I look at ACT scores, I typically see a lot of students, and it's not necessarily true of everyone, but a big percentage get a good score in math and not so good in English. But that also would impact their personal essays that will write for college admission. Early on, I think from elementary and middle school, I think all of us know importance of math. Our math courses are very popular, both our critical thinking and school math. But I tell parents a lot, you should play equal importance for English as well, especially for younger elementary, middle school, because those two are foundation for everything. And you cannot build those skills overnight. Just like math skills, you can't build or critical thinking math, you cannot build overnight. You can't do the English skills overnight either. Those are two foundational things. If you have younger students, please consider that to put enough emphasis from elementary, middle schools itself. Couple of other questions again in private chat. So I'll read the question and then answer. My daughter is going to 9th grade in August. She got 1018 PSAT when she took in 7th grade. Duke tip. What do you recommend for her, PSAT or SAT? So she's going to 9th grade. Out of 1080. If she took Duke tip 7th grade, that probably she took SAT, not PSAT. That is actually decent score for a 7th grader. Depends really, ma'am. So if she's good at math and English, I would probably recommend SAT instead of PSAT 8-9. If she's probably not, depends on how much accelerated or advanced in math and English. So it varies from student to student. If any of you have a specific question that I can't answer now, I will give my contacts. You can contact me later. My email is ram@mathusacademy. I'm typing in the chat. I'll give my number as well. So feel free to contact me. Probably most of you have my email. Some of you might have received my email, but I'll also give my number. If you're trying to reach my number, the best is actually text it. Because call, if I'm on another call, I may not be able to take, but if you text, right, it's time efficient. So I typed my number as well. So you can reach, if you have specific questions, right, some of them harder to answer without knowing the student. So I do know to know the student. Based on the student background, we can recommend which class is best for them. Right, what else? Couple of other questions. Yeah, 35 in ACT is pretty good score. So yeah, if he doesn't want to take SAT, that is okay. Again, all other matter, right? All other factors. So that time you can probably put into other things and improve his whatever other criteria. A couple of other private questions. What are the total number of hours a student needs in general for preparing for SAT and ACT? Very hard to question. It again varies a lot from student to student. Our classes, the actual class time during the summer is 48 hours of actual interactive teaching. And obviously many hours outside of that when we give the full tests, partial tests, other homeworks. So probably over 100 hours during the summer. But it varies from the student to student. It depends on where they are, how strong they are in math and English, etc. Another question, my son just completed 11th grade. He got 1530 in SAT. That's good. He took SAT 2 times now. You still need to take chemistry and physics SAT subject test. Should we take SAT one more time or just focus on SAT subject test? It depends. 1530 is actually a good score. It depends on how is he in other things, and what are his target colleges. So I would say it's a good score. If you want to focus, and subject tests are not that hard. If he's a good student doing well in the subjects, you don't need to sweat too much about the subject tests. But it really depends on what are his target colleges and how are his other parameters. How is he doing in everything else? How many hours in a week and what the duration? I think, oh, so for the classes, right? So at this point, let me switch over to the schedules and fees, and I will talk because some of these questions will address there. So the SAT classes are 3 times a week, 2 hours per session, SAT and ACT. The PSAT is twice a week and 2 hours per session. On all of them are 8 weeks. So SAT and ACT comes to 8 times 3 times 2, right? 3 times a week, 2 hours per session, 8 weeks, 48 hours. PSAT is 8 weeks, twice a week, and 2 hours per session. That comes for 32 hours. And those more details are there on the website. I'll switch there. Then this is about the fee. I think I already talked about. So let me switch to the website, and I will also show. I think I said I'm going to show about Duke Tip and College Board websites. So if you go to our website, mathusacademy.com, there are summer webinars and classes. Some of you might have already gone there. If not, once you go here, all the fee details are here. So for SAT, 8 weeks, 3 times a week, 2 hours per session, 1080. ACT same, PSAT twice a week. So both of them same hourly rate, $20.50. All of them are in the same range, $22, $23 range. Our math classes, we also have critical thinking math classes, pre-math counts, math counts, then passport to advanced math, English, public speaking, debate. So all the details are here. If any of your friends are interested, I'm going to do a webinar every Saturday this time during the summer. So please invite them. The link is right here. The date for the college admission one is not yet announced, but it will be sometime in July. We'll announce that soon. If you want to pre-register, it's free. You can just click on that and register. And the class schedules, we will open more batches, but these are the current batches. But we'll open more batches as well. And some of them are already full. So we'll have to open 2 more batches. Okay, going back to chat. Somebody asked a private question, how many hours in a week and what duration? I think that is already addressed on the website. Subject SAT, what score is the best? 800 is the highest, yeah. But yeah. Qualifying score varies from college to college, but 800 is the max. And if the student is doing well in that subject, they're generally good. If they need help, we can certainly help in one-on-one tutoring. How AMC 10 is important for admission? From admission per college admission, probably not much really. And AMC 10 is a math competition. And there are many math competitions. AMC is one of them, very prestigious one. In middle school, there is math counts. There are many other competitions. Some colleges, if you're applying for a math major, maybe. But if you're applying, so the way AMC test American math competitions work is you have, by the way, we're going to close in a few minutes. For those of you who joined later, if you want the presentation, please enter your email address and your child's name and grade in the private chat. So in the chat, you can select Mathus Academy and enter it over there. So email the presentation for all those who provide the email addresses. Coming to math competitions, AMC has 3 competitions: AMC 8, AMC 10, and AMC 12. AMC 8 is for middle schoolers, 6th to 8th graders. AMC 10 can be taken by anyone up to 10th grader. So they can be even taken by middle schoolers. As if they got a good score in AMC 8, they can go and take AMC 10. And there is even an AMC 12, which can be taken by anybody up to 12th grade. Now, they have nothing to do with actual college admission. Some colleges might consider for certain majors, but that's probably secondary. For those who, the AMC test lead all the way directly up to International Math Olympiad. As you might have heard, the highest level of math competition for high school students in the world is called International Math Olympiad. So to get there, let me show it here. So you got AMC 8, AMC 10, or AMC 12. So these are entry-level exams. Okay. Now, somebody who got this, so in AMC 10 or 12, if they get a qualifying score, they will be invited. It's only by invitation. They go to a test called AIME, American Invitational Math Exam. And that is only by invitation. That the top 2.5% in AMC 10 and the top 5% in AMC 12 get invited to AIME, American Invitational Math Exam. The toppers from this will get invited to another test called USAMO, United States of America Math Olympiad. And from this USAMO, 10 students, 10 of the best high school the best math high school students in math will get invited to for a camp that United States conducts to train them to represent United States in the International Math Olympiad that happens in different country. Each year it happens in different country. It's the most prestigious math competition. Now to get there is very, very, very hard. Only 10 students in the entire country go there. Actually, only 6 will represent at the end, but 10 will go for the training or being backup. But this is the feeder. AMC 8, 10, 12 are the feeder to get there. So they're less about college admission and a lot about those who are really into math. And it's only college admission is not necessarily about just math, right? It's about everything. Whereas this is specifically about math competition. All right. Any other one or two? I'm done with my presentation, whatever I want to present. Any, probably can take 1 or 2 questions before we close. Megan, do you have a question? All right. You're welcome all. It's pleasure talking to everyone. And yeah, if in case you haven't given the email and you want the presentation, please type your email and child's name in the chat. Have a good rest of the weekend, everyone, and look forward to talking to you in person. I think there's a question about college admission. I think I'll probably do another webinar because it takes a time and we're well over time. So I'll probably everything related to college admission will do it again. You're welcome, sir. Bye, everyone.
You called it some Ishwar guy, arrow.
Bye.